We started the Checking In podcast with two goals in mind. First, as bankers, to share cool technologies and financial tools and strategies for businesses and individuals. Second, to highlight some of the awesome small businesses and services that we have here in North Andover. We thank you for listening and hope that you learned something and come back for more. Welcome to Checking In Podcast. This is Amy LaMarche, and we're here at the CAM Studios in North Andover, Massachusetts. I'm sitting across from Mari-Leckel of Boston Birth Associates right here in North Andover. Welcome, Mari.
Hello. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's great to have you, and you do have a wonderful radio voice.
Thank you.
Yes. Maybe that could be an additional career, you know, among the other hats
Right.
you wear. So Mari is a certified doula, if I'm using the right terminology, and a lot of this is very unfamiliar to me. So I thought it would be interesting to bring her on board and just explain about what she does. You know, I know that it has to do with pregnancy and families and a lot of calming influence. But please, Mari, tell us about yourself.
Yes, thank you. And, you know, a lot of people don't know exactly what a doula does. Maybe they've heard of the word. I certainly was one of those people. So, again, thank you for having me. My name's Mari-Leckel. I am the owner of Boston Birth Associates, and my background is I am a mom. I actually live here in the town of North Andover. We've been here for about 20 years, and I love this town. I have two children. I have two girls. I am also, I have two grandchildren. My children are actually 20 years apart. So my girls are 30 and 10. And I say I do one at a time so they get all my attention. So my background actually, you know, when I was going to school, I have a degree in criminal justice and sociology. I graduated from Tufts University. And as soon as I graduated, I just dove into working in law enforcement. So my background is in law enforcement, and I worked in that field for over 10 years. And my oldest child, I was, you know, really young when I had her. I didn't know much about having a baby, becoming a parent. I didn't really have a lot of support. And then when I had my youngest, who's now 10, my husband and I actually experienced infertility. So we tried for years to conceive, and our youngest is actually the 8th try medically to conceive.
Wow.
And so when along that journey, one of the IVF processes worked, and we conceived with twins. And when we lost that pregnancy, it was really, of course, devastating. But I remember being in the fertility clinic and the doctors and nurses supporting me and just really helping us along that, you know, horrible experience that we were going through. And finally, the 8th try worked. And our youngest was almost a year old. And I was reflecting back with my husband. And I was like, look at this journey, you know, we've been on, and experiencing that time of support. I said to my husband, I want to do that. I want to give that feeling back. And he said, what does that mean? And I said, I have no idea. And at the time, you know, I was working in law enforcement, and all of a sudden I found this training to become a childbirth educator. And I said, I like to educate the people. Let's see what this is about. And I went and took that training, and in the training were a bunch of doulas, and they started to tell me what they did. And I said, that's how I'm going to give that feeling back. That's what I want to do. So I dove in, I took all the certifications to become a labor and a postpartum doula, a childbirth educator, and I opened up this little side solo doula business. And Monday through Friday, I would do warrant sweeps in my bulletproof vest. And then on the weekends, I'd go and have babies with clients.
Wow.
And
what year was this again?
So this was in 2013.
2013.
Yeah,
Okay.
this started in 2013, and I was doing it for about a year. And it really started to grow. My business started to grow organically. And I was kind of at this crossroads of, do I stay in this field of law enforcement, or do I kind of go on this path of the unknown, really? I don't have a background in business. So I took a chance, and my husband was incredibly supportive. And I started to open up a doula agency, which is we have an incredible team to support as many families as we possibly can. And it is literally what I will do until I am old and gray. You know, having a child, whether it's your first or your fourth, it's always a different experience. And research actually shows that having a doula, you know, by definition, is someone who supports families emotionally, educationally, and physically. And having a doula actually increases your overall experience as a positive one. And it's not about just, you know, having an unmedicated birth, which is what a lot of people, I equated having a doula was, you know, this natural, quote unquote, natural unmedicated birth. But we're actually even in the OR for C-sections for families. So it's about the support that you have, knowing that you were educated in the process, that you know that you had choices, because there are choices along the way. And, you know, the experience is a positive one in the end, no matter how you have your baby.
So, do you does the doula become sort of a partner with the expectant mother through the whole process? Or
Yeah,
there's like a sort of a partnership that starts presumably as early as possible?
absolutely. We have some families, you know, that will essentially take a pregnancy test, it's positive, and they call and say, I need a doula. We had one partner describe us as their consultant. We're their consultant throughout the pregnancy process. The difference between a doula and an OBGYN or a midwife is they are medical and we are non-medical.
Yeah.
So we are trained in the anatomy and physiology of labor and birth and the postpartum period. And together, that makes an incredible team for that family. So we're working with the medical staff in the hospitals and in birth centers.
So, how does the relationship manifest itself at the start? Like, I would imagine it changes depending upon the individual and the family, whether it's the first, the second, the third, or whatever. But I'm just trying to envision this, like the doula's not over for dinner every night, right? I don't know.
Right, right. Although that would be nice. Right. So from the start of the relationship of a doula and a family that's expecting, we actually create a group chat. And we are at their fingertips. We are their 24/7 Google. So they're asking us questions along the way. Anything that they encounter, whether it's from an appointment that they had more questions, you know, the medical staff is wonderful, but they don't always have time to sit down and really dive deep into all the questions that you have. So that's why you have a doula. You come to us, we maybe help you prep for that next visit and say, you can ask these questions when you go see your provider. And we start to develop a relationship throughout the pregnancy so that we do become essentially, you know, part of their birthing team. And we know everything from what are their preferences, what are some things that we know will be helpful, what won't be helpful. And then when it's time for the big day, if it's 2:00 in the morning, they call us, they call their doula, and we answer and we guide them along the way. Right? You know, I remember when I was having my children, when I felt the first contraction, should I go to the hospital now? Do I go later? Well, the doula is there to guide you, and we can help navigate when is the right time to go to the hospital. When do you call your provider? Is this really labor? And then when they do transition to the hospital, we meet them there and we labor with them. So we don't have shift change like the medical staff. We're in the room the whole entire time. And we're also, if they have a partner, we're giving the partner breaks when needed, right? Labor is a long process. First time birthing people can be 24 hours or more.
Yeah.
And so we're there along the way to guide them and let them know this is normal, this is what you can expect next, and just giving them that sense of support and that calming factor for them, you know, because birth essentially is, you know, portrayed as a scary event when it's really not. And if you have a consultant along the way, the doula, that can really change your experience altogether.
That sounds really wonderful. Truly. Now, I know there's more that you do for the individual because you were talking about yoga,
Yes.
and I don't know if it's a family yoga. If I saw pictures on the website of the pregnant yoga mamas,
Yes.
but you explain the sort of big picture too,
Yeah.
beyond the birthing part and the answering questions along the way.
Yeah. So, I want to be able to give families as much support as possible. So for me, myself, I'm certified as a labor, postpartum doula. I'm a certified lactation counselor. So I help with breastfeeding and infant feeding. I'm also a yoga teacher, a Reiki master teacher, childbirth educator. I'm also a labor doula and postpartum trainer. So,
Is there anything you don't do? You're a total overachiever.
I'm like, what other hat can I add to my, head? I want to be able to support families as much as possible. And so we offer not just labor and postpartum support. We do a lot of overnight care. We do a lot of prenatal yoga because prenatal yoga has many benefits to prepare the body for the big day. And it's also, a nice way to calm any nerves that you have when we're doing that prenatal yoga session. And as a childbirth educator, I'm also educating them along the way when they're taking that class. So we offer breastfeeding support, classes, overnight care, yoga, pre and postnatal fitness classes.
Oh, that's great.
We have pediatric sleep specialists on our team. So we really can, what I always say, if we don't have it, tell me and I'll create it because I want to be able to I want to be a one-stop shop because I know how important that is. We also offer a free new moms group weekly for families for the extra sense of community.
So you have a location in North Andover, I know, right here next to the studio, which made it pretty convenient because based on all of the things that you do, I'm surprised I even got this 10 minutes from you. So thank you again. But you have another location.
Yes. So, we are very blessed, especially during this last few years of the pandemic. I know, it was really hard for a lot of businesses, and I'm just a small business here. And we have two brick and mortar spaces. So we have one in Woburn, and then we have one here in North Andover, which is my hometown, which I've always wanted to open up another location. So we have a second location, which is really exciting. I'm happy to be here in the community and, in the town that I love.
So just for me to envision, because I keep coming at the wrong hour to see the studio, but what is the layout, and are there individual rooms for doulas to meet with their people, or share the vision, if you would.
So, the location here is mostly focused for our classes and support groups. It is a small, intimate space, so we really get to know the families. We can meet families here for, whether it's consultations or just some extra support that they need. And the other location is focused on classes. And, in this state of the world we're living in, a lot of classes and things have also been done virtually. So, we've also been able to support families all over the U.S. Virtually when needed as well.
Now, have you found that the OBGYN community is open to the doula part? I would imagine hopefully you've a partnership to make things better, but that's been a good thing.
That's such a great question because that's a really important piece to doing this work and for families expecting. It's really important for them to know they want to be able to have a doula who has a good relationship with the medical community. And I've worked really hard over the last 9.5 years to build those relationships, those bridges. Not all medical providers like working with doulas. And so it's our job to really let them know that we're there to work with them in the capacity of full support for the expecting family. But a lot of hospitals are now familiar with Boston Birth Associates. They refer their patients to us. And a lot of labor and delivery nurses, they absolutely love working with doulas because we're there for that constant hands-on that the nurses can't always do, and they really want to, but they don't have the time.
Yeah, no, that again, it sounds like a really good balance. I'm thinking about during COVID, were there any issues with getting in to be with the birthing mother?
Yes, absolutely. So as soon as COVID hit, we were fully booked throughout the months to support families in a variety of hospitals. And then everything shut down and we were not allowed in the hospitals. So we had to quickly pivot as a business and figure out, okay, how can we continue to give these families the support we promised them? And so I quickly, put things together to have extra support for the partner if they had a partner, because at the time partners were still allowed. And we were worried that maybe partners would even be shut out, which would be horrible to have a birthing, a
Experience
labor
without
by yourself. Yeah,
God,
that would be awful.
Yeah.
So we quickly pivoted and created some extra support for them, extra workshops we created. And then when it was time for them to have their baby, we did the same thing. At 2:00 in the morning, you call us. And then what we did was virtual support. So when they got to the labor and delivery, they actually were propping up their laptops and we were sending them a link and we were joining via video.
Yeah.
So we were staying the entire time and coaching them through video.
Yeah.
And it was so wonderful because they still had the support. They were so happy with the experience. And the nurses were great. They would move us around the room and say, is this a good angle? Should we move you over? And then we would make suggestions according to what was happening during the process. So it still really worked out great.
Thank God for technology. And again,
know.
thank God for your ability to pivot, as you say.
Yeah.
You said you had not been a business person before, but clearly you've adapted and figured out how to merge your love for this field with running a business. I mean, expanding to North Andover is pretty huge. It's a pretty, leap for a small business. So great job.
Thank you.
Was there anything else that you want to add? Importantly, I want to make sure that we know a phone number and a website, for people who do want to explore and learn more about the whole experience. But any other important things for, people who are expecting or who are thinking about having a family?
Yeah, they can reach us at www.bostonbirthassociates.com. They can also give us a call at 978-764-4414. And our location here in North Andover is right on Main Street, 84 Main Street. They can, reach us anytime and ask any kind of questions so that we can help guide them to see what is the right fit for them.
Great. Excellent. All right. Well, Mari, thank you so much. I had a few things that I wanted to tie up with. Again, you are a member of the North Andover Merchant Association and a supporter of the group. So thank you for that. We're always interested in bringing new businesses on board and figuring out how we can support these businesses. The podcast is one of the things. We're also going to be doing the Merchant of the Month on video. So we shall be coming to your location soon. But the North Andover Merchant Association is really here to support local business and encourage people to shop local.
Yes.
So that's good. And the other piece is we're here at the North Andover CAM Studio, which is a facility available to local business and to community members. It is really inexpensive to become a member. There are all sorts of resources available, a fantastic staff, Brian, Bill, Gabby, here really to help you learn and engage and figure out about media. They also do the coverage of the local select person meetings and sports events and so on. So North Andover CAM, I believe it's 70 Main Street in North Andover. And I am Amy LaMarche. I run the Checking In podcast, and I am also a member of the Salem 5 Bank on Chickering Road in North Andover. Take care and have a great day.